Folks, hello. It's time for another list. Today we're going to talk about 5 winners of the NBA offseason from a team perspective. And I cheated. There's more than 5 teams here because I liked a lot of what teams did this offseason. Okay, so make sure you guys make sure you guys leave a comment, make sure you guys subscribe. I want you guys to comment one thing for me. I want you to comment this down below. Who's the biggest winner you know in life? Now, you don't have to put me, but I'm expecting it. So I'm just letting you know there, okay? All right, let's get right into it. Let's just not waste any more time because, like I said, I have more than 5 teams here. So let's get down to business. No, we don't need to go here. We need to go here. 5 winners by the... Now, I want to know, do you guys see what we did here? Do you guys see what we did here? And I realized I misspelt it. Yesterday, I misspelled overrated. Today, I misspelled winners. So I don't know what's going on with my brain. But as you can see, the W is created by 2 V's put together. So let me know what you guys think about that. Let's get right into it. Winner number 1. I'm going with the Washington Wizards. Now, this might sound a little bit crazy. The Wizards obviously didn't make any gigantic move. In fact, I would say the Wizards and Wizards fans are probably disappointed about where they ended up landing in the lottery, considering how bad they were last year. I'm putting them here because we got to give props to teams like these, the dregs of the leagues, whenever I think. And I'm going to infantilize them a tiny bit here and treat them like a toddler because we need to applaud these teams whenever they don't make embarrassments of themselves. And I do think we're a couple years in now of the Wizards just making solid, quiet moves to quietly accumulate assets, quietly build up a young core. That looks pretty interesting now that they added Trey Johnson in the draft, obviously. Will Riley later in the draft as well. I'm not really a big Will Riley fan, but I like it as just this fun sort of offensive upside guy. I think it makes a lot of sense with a team like Washington. But also for them to go out and get Cam Whitmore for basically free, 2 second-round picks for Cam Whitmore. I mean, I love them making a move like that. It makes all the sense in the world for them. Them going out and not only getting a guy who was just a first-round pick a year ago in Dylan Jones, but getting a second-round pick in the process to help the Thunder with their roster shrink or whatever. And, the Jordan Poole trade, yeah, you get off of that contract. You get a shorter contract in CJ McCollum's, an expiring deal in CJ McCollum. And, it's veterans to add to your room, which I like, but also somebody who you could maybe trade for more assets at the trade deadline. I think they've done a good job. I really do. And you look at that young core spearheaded by the 3 rookies they had last year. Sarr showed a lot of flashes late towards the season. What Bub Carrington's capable of. I like Keyshawn George. I thought he was pretty solid too. And now you add in Trey Johnson and to a lesser extent, again, I don't really like Will Riley, but you add Trey Johnson and Cam Whitmore, they're doing some stuff, man. The Wizards deserve a little bit of a round of applause, man. They're doing some pretty decent stuff, and you can start to squint and see the outline of a pretty solid young group. And who knows, if they're trashing it this year, which they probably will be, and they get some lottery luck next year, then you're plugging one of these elite top 3 guys in next year's draft into an already solid young core. Interesting stuff happening in Washington. I got to give them some props. Denver, obviously, pound for pound, maybe the winner of the offseason. I'll tell you who I think actually won the offseason later at the end of the video. But Denver, obviously they had a fantastic offseason. The Cam Johnson trade, trading Michael Porter Jr., who I don't know. Michael Porter Jr. is talking a lot. I don't know. We know the podcast for Michael Porter Jr. He's never been shy to be on podcasts with porn stars. What was the context of Lana Rhoades being on his podcast? I don't even know, but it happened. He's now in Brooklyn. And just in the recent days, he said his brother, who's been banned from the NBA for gambling, his vice was gambling. Michael Porter Jr.'s vice is women. Hey, to each their own, right? We love women here on the Slightly Biased channel. Don't get me wrong. And then today, just now, I just read, I'm paraphrasing here, but he basically had a quote on a podcast. I was like, yeah, you have some friends where it's like, hey, man, bet $10,000 on my under and I'm going to go out and fake an injury. He said that. Now, he was just saying yeah, that happens in the league. But, I wouldn't want my player to say that, okay? So, that happened. Anyways, you get Cam Johnson, who I think you can make arguments is just flat out a better player than Michael Porter Jr., but at the very least, they're very comparable in terms of players and what they're capable of doing. And because of that trade, right? Yeah, you traded a future first-round pick, which could be very valuable down the line, but that gave you the financial flexibility. Cam Johnson's making $18 million, I think, less a year than Michael Porter Jr. That gave you the opportunity to go out and get guys like Bruce Brown, Tim Hardaway Jr., and Jonas Valanciunas. Now, Jokic has the best backup center he's ever had in Jonas Valanciunas. The Boogie was pretty good those few years there. I guess a few months. He was only there briefly. Bruce Brown comes back on a minimum. Tim Hardaway Jr. I had Tim Hardaway Jr. in one of my most underrated moves of the offseason. I really love that fit for him. And yeah, I think you got so much deeper. This was a team that desperately needed some depth. So I think it's a huge successful offseason for Denver. And they gave up a valuable pick down the line, but they had to do it. You've got the best player on the planet, right? So go all in while you can. The Hawks. Now, I'm not going to lie. I had the KP move on my most overrated moves list only because I thought there was more risk there than was kind of being talked about. I looked at their offseason and I remembered liking it more than I do now. I think what's really carrying it, it's not even mentioned here, is the draft trade with the Pelicans, right? To give the Pelicans, the 14th overall pick in exchange for next year's unprotected Pelicans pick. That could either be the Bucks pick or the Pelicans pick. The Hawks get to decide. I mean, that's a steal, right? And the Hawks did have a good offseason. Do not get me wrong, right? Azanul, yeah, I don't know. Okay, right? That's fine, right? They draft him. You could see like some John Collins comps there with a guy like Trae Young. The Kristaps Porzingis trade, which we talked about yesterday, they gave up a pick in the 20s in this year's draft. They gave up, but in the process, they also got off of Terrence Mann's horrific contract, which, is a good move in and of itself. So to get Kristaps Porzingis back in that deal, yeah, it's a big ceiling raiser. Nickeil Alexander-Walker, one of the premier, free agents of the offseason. They go out and get him, and now you can think of lineups where it's, Dyson Daniels and Nickeil Alexander-Walker. I mean, that's a pretty disgusting defensive guard duo, right? They need some shooting. They go out and get Luke Kennard on a cheap deal. I like that. Clint Capella leaves. He was washed. Karis LeVert out is actually kind of interesting because they need a backup point guard, somebody who can run the second unit badly. Nickeil Alexander-Walker is not really that guy. Dyson Daniels, I don't think is really that guy. Unless I'm any Hawks fans watching this, please fill me in. Feels like they're kind of banking on Kobe Buffkin quite a bit. Hey, and I'm a Kobe Buffkin guy. I am. All right. So I'm hoping for the best. But that is what makes me a little bit interesting. And why I almost didn't include the Hawks on this list was, again, you had 2 draft picks and then you trade them both, and you do get one. You traded them for a really good pick next year. So I understand it and I get it, but I don't know. To have 2 picks in the draft and you leave with just one, and Azanul, who I wasn't that high on. All right. But then also, the Trae Young extension thing is becoming awkward. And I keep an eye on that, monitor that, right? Because that could change some stuff if the Trae Young situation gets really ugly. But for the time being, they are winners of the offseason. Absolutely. Do not get me wrong. I have the Portland Trailblazers here. This might be an unpopular opinion because I think I've seen some people shit on the Portland Trailblazers. I don't really get why at all. I like what they did this offseason quite a bit, to be honest with you. Yeah, they're taking a chance on an older Drew Holiday who's making $30 million a year. But I like when younger teams go out and get vet guys. And you could say, well, what about all the other young guards they have that need an opportunity to shine? I don't think Drew's going to be taking much away from those guys. You jettison the guys who really would be taking away opportunities from those guys like Shane Sharp and Anthony Simons. And Anthony Simons, like Anthony Simons was a guy who, did I say Scoot Henderson and Shane Sharp? What did I say? But Anthony Simons is gone. He is a guy who would take stuff away from those two. DeAndre Ayton is a guy who would take stuff away from those two and from Klingon. So you get off of those two guys. Yeah, you get Drew Holiday, but a leader, a veteran presence for a team that the Blazers are not going to be half bad. They really aren't. They're going to try and be competitive. They're building an identity of being this tough defensive team that plays hard as hell. Drew Holiday fits right into that, so I like it. I really do. They get young and handsome in the draft, and then they bring back Dame Lillard on what is it, like $8 million a year? Hey, he's not going to play this year, but if Dame Lillard he'll be older, but I feel like $8 million for Dame Lillard is going to end up being a really good deal next year. And yeah, next year, maybe you cross this bridge where it's like, okay, we do have a lot of guards, but you're hoping to see something out of Scoot this season. And that'll probably change your line of thinking next offseason. But for the time being, I like what they did. I love bringing back Dame. I love, especially at that price point, going out and getting Drew. I personally like it. I think it's smart. I think it's a really good decision. And this is a Trailblazers team that I think's done really good stuff lately. So, they brought in Toumani Camara. He's blossomed into a great player. They brought in Deni Avdija last offseason in a trade. That ended up being one of the better moves of the entire offseason last year. So, good shit, Portland. I like what you did. I really do. Houston, I have to include them here. There are some, they had a busy ass offseason. There are some things that I scratch my head. The more I think about it, I don't really get the Clint Capella move. Like, I'm trying to think about it more and more. All right, so my assumption is, hey, we're going to rely on the double big stuff with Steven Adams and Şengün quite a bit. So we need another guy. We need like another legitimate backup big that could give Steven Adams some rest or can fill in and do what Steven Adams does if Steven Adams is hurt, because he hasn't been like the picture of health as of late. Okay, fine. You re-sign Steven Adams. I like that. Aaron Holiday was quietly a pretty important player for them last year. You re-sign him. Jabari Smith Jr., I like that extension. I love bringing back Fred. We can talk about Fred's shooting splits and stuff like that. Look at the impact numbers. Fred VanVleet's insanely important to this Houston Rockets team. So I appreciate all of that. And then, of course, the KD trade I thought was great. I had it in my top 5 best moves of the offseason. I love the KD trade. This is a team that was the 2nd seed last year, and these things can change year to year. You can improve as a team and fall in the standings. We see that happen from time to time. But I feel like they put themselves in another category. They are real legitimate contenders. And anytime a team does that, goes from being, a good solid team to real legitimate contenders, how can they not be considered winners? Especially when the price you paid for Kevin Durant was Jalen Green, who that marriage was ending badly, right? You needed a split before it spoiled the children. Dylan Brooks, right? Whatever. We feel like we can replace him in a 10th overall pick that was never going to play for you anyways. Great. Good shit. A lot of pressure on Reed Shepherd, though. A lot of pressure on Reed Shepherd. The Orlando Magic, similar with the Rockets. The Magic paid a hefty price for Desmond Bane, right? More expensive than the price the Rockets played for Kevin Durant. But similar to Houston, they sort of went up a level, in my opinion. They went from this good team, you can squint, see a year where Paolo and Franz are healthy, and they're like a tough, competitive team in the East that can win some playoff series. Now, all of a sudden, I think they're like a dark horse contending team, right? Desmond Bane provides floor spacing. He provides... he matches their defensive identity of being a tough, aggressive defender, just somebody who just plays hard, and gives them just some more creativity offensively, a good connective playmaker. They get all of that. They get what they really desperately need, and just a floor general offensive guy in Tyus Jones, who doesn't have to start for them, can come off the bench. Jace Richardson in the draft, I thought was a really solid pickup for them. Noah Pinda in the 2nd round. I really like Noah Pinda in the draft. You extend Paolo. We all knew that was coming. And you do all of this, and the only roster pieces you lose really are Cole Anthony, KCP, and Gary Harris, which, whatever, right? So they got much better as a team. And I've been mentioning this. You look at the Detroit Pistons from a year ago. Cade Cunningham had this big breakout. Well, if you watched Pistons games, even when they were shit, you saw... all right, I mean, Cade Cunningham is a stud. He's a fucking star. This Pistons team is terrible, right? But you just see all the things that Cade Cunningham's capable of doing. It's like, oh yeah, that guy's a superstar player, and he's going to have a year where it breaks out. That happened last year. Why did that happen last year? Due in large part to the fact that the Detroit Pistons went out and got actual shooters who could shoot the basketball and space the floor. And now Cade had more room to operate, and now you saw the Cade leap. Could we see something very similar with Paolo? Paolo's already a phenomenal player, already an all-star level player. But can we see even a bigger leap, right? I think he's capable of that. And Franz as well. So we'll see. I love this move, and I love getting Desmond Bane. Are we on the last one? Yeah, these are my winners of the offseason. It's the Dallas Mavericks. Now, I want you guys to tell me, is this being slightly biased? Or is there some truth to this? Is there something to this? Me thinking the Dallas Mavericks won the offseason. Now, let me explain why. This might not sound fair. I've been doing draft stuff for the winners and losers, because I think you have to factor it in, right? For like best moves and stuff, I didn't want to do that. But for winners and losers of the entire offseason as a whole, I think we needed to include the draft. I don't think you guys fully grasp what the fuck would have been going on if the Mavericks did not win the lottery and had the 11th overall pick. I truthfully don't think you guys understand. I 100% think it's possible the Mavericks would have done some dumb shit trade. I really do. In an effort to be aggressive, in an effort to excite the fan base, in an effort to make a move to go all in for the next season and the season after that. Landing the number 1 overall pick, it buys you some time, and thank God. I mean, I guess there's still a few months left before the season starts. Let me knock on wood. But thank God the team did not feel as though they needed to break the bank and trade the limited assets they have left to go out and get, an older player to help complement this roster. So landing the number 1 overall pick, and I get they didn't do anything, right? It was luck. But I mean, some of this shit's luck, right? Like the Atlanta Hawks, they got lucky that the fucking dumbass Pelicans wanted to trade a future first next year for the 14th pick in the draft. Like they got lucky, right? That there's some luck involved there. The Mavericks getting the number 1 overall pick, yeah, they got lucky. But it is what it is. It makes them the winner of the offseason because I don't really know where the franchise would be currently if they did not get this. It literally saved the franchise, and I'm not joking. There's only one move that I saw from this offseason, like that saved this team. Not just made them better, it literally saved them from the brink of extinction, and that is the Dallas Mavericks getting Cooper Flagg and the number 1 overall pick. So there you have it. Ryan Nembhard, an undrafted free agency as well. I mean, he got shut down in Summer League. You don't really see that with undrafted guys. So we'll see what leads there. D'Lo on a cheap move. You know, it's D'Lo, so don't get your hopes up too high. But at the price point, hard to do much better for what the Mavericks desperately needed, which was just playmaking and shooting from the guard position. D'Lo provides those things. Daniel Gafford extended at a really solid number. Kyrie comes back under the max contract. Dante Exum is going to come back. The Mavericks need to open up a roster space to make that happen, but by all signs, he's coming back. And Spencer Dinwiddie's like the only guy who played that's gone. Kessler Edwards is gone. Kai Jones is gone. Some two-way guys. But Spencer Dinwiddie's the only guy on contract who's gone. Correct? Am I wrong there? So you're kind of running it back with Cooper Flagg and now D'Lo in the mix. Yeah. If you're wondering where some teams are, like the Spurs, for example, I hate the De'Aaron Fox contract. I hate it. I just don't like it at all. I get you had to do it, but I just really dislike it. So I couldn't put them in here in good faith because there's no other teams here have a move where I don't like. So there you have it. What do you guys think? Are the Mavericks really the winners of the offseason? If you don't include the draft, they're not, right? But if you include the draft, I mean, how the fuck aren't they? Their franchise was going to end. I don't think you understand.